New delivery from GMT today, and it's a really good one. Wow, what a package, what a box. I've had these on pre-order for a while. Very, very excited to have these, although who the hell knows when I'm going to get a chance to play them with how many games I've got stacked up in my to-play pile right now. But I want to take you through a quick unboxing of both of these, specifically because there's some really good stuff that GMT is doing on the production front right now that's being shown up in these two games. But first we're going to start with Great Battles of Julius Caesar Deluxe, although the Musket and Pike dual pack is probably the one I'm more excited about. We'll save that for last. The Great Battles of Julius Caesar Deluxe edition, this is a reprint of two Great Battles of History games that came out a long time ago and had multiple printings. But this is a box that contains both Caesar the Civil Wars and Caesar Conquest of Gaul, which were printed in the 90s and then reprinted in 2006 in the case of Conquest of Gaul. As you may know, I own that reprint. It's not the nicest box in the world. The component control at that time was wildly variable for GMT's games, and it is notorious for having a really bad box and the components being really weird. This box, as you can see, contains a bunch of maps, includes 20 battles, both from the Civil War period of Caesar and from the Gallic Wars period before that. And there's also some stuff from Dictator and Jugurtha, which were expansion modules, as well as Caratakis, which was the Roman conquest of Britain. There was some stuff. I think some of these might be C3I, but I think a lot of them were expansion modules for the original Conquest of Gauls and the Civil Wars. So this is an incredible package. Between this and SPQR Deluxe, you are looking at more Republican Roman, maybe all Republican Roman tactical battles that have ever existed, certainly in Great Battles of History. And you could be playing these things for years, basically. You could buy this in SPQR and be set on Roman tactical combat for almost a lifetime, probably. Let's open her up and see what we got inside. I imagine lots of counter sheets. It's going to be fun because I have the original, and I'm going to have to go through and make sure that I'm matching all of the old counters with the new ones in the counter trays. But as you can see, it's the new GMT matte finish. We've got, looks like 4. Here's some more. It's a big stack of cardboard in here. Oh, boy. Yeah, that's a lot of counters. So it's on this new GMT brown core matte finish counters that are very, very nice. It looks like 7.5 counter sheets. The half counter sheet has a bunch of naval stuff on it, it looks like, and some markers and what have you. That's not the important one. But lots and lots of Roman units. All of these are legions of various types. This system known for its incredible fidelity of detail for how the legions were organized and the way they fought. More legions. Here's some ships. There are some naval battles in this particular package. We've got all of the Roman leaders here, as well as looks like Roman and Gallic auxiliary cavalry, Numidian auxiliary cavalry. Here's some Moors from Africa. More ships down here. It's just a lot of good stuff in here. Here now we get started with the barbarians. Actually, here's more Roman leaders. Pompey's leaders, it says. So some of these are actually labeled. So let's see if I can get this. This is, I see. So it tells you what legions they are. Yeah, so the legions are kind of labeled. Here we've got, it's interesting. Some of the counters are labeled, some of them are not. Interesting. Yeah, so on this one it says, so Pompey's leaders. This one, it doesn't have any label. It's just like all leaders, which is interesting. That must be the Civil War. It must be to differentiate the white and the gray in the Civil War period, along with, the Roman versus Roman legions. But you're also going to get Roman versus barbarians, and as you can see, there are just a metric ton of Numidians here. We've got Pontus, Thrace, Phrygian. These would be, I guess, armies. There's some leaders down there. The Cimbrii, the Britons in gray, the Arverni in blue. Obviously, that's the Caesar Gallic War stuff as we start there, which is pretty cool. And I've played most of the scenarios in Caesar Conquest of Gaul. They're pretty fun. A lot of them are really one-sided because the barbarians just get smashed, but there are some good fun ones that are competitive. More Phrygians and Arverni. The Parisii, obviously what the city of Paris is named after, the barbarians who live there. And more game markers, typical GBOH game marker stock. All right, 7.5 counter sheets. What else we got in here? Well, I suspect that we have maps and we have a rule book. So here's a scenario book, and this is extremely beefy. Of course, we're talking about 2 games, 20 battles. Gergovia, that's a famous one. I think this one is massive. Yeah. Here's the setup. Look at that. There's the fortress. Oh, it's going to be so fun to play these at some point. This is a thick, hefty book, 77, 78, 79, 80 pages, including the developer's notes. So this is beefy. This is where you're going to get all your scenario setups. I did want to point out here, Battles of the Warrior Queen update. So this, a couple of years ago, GMT published an expansion to the original Conquest of Gaul. I guess it would have been 14 years later, about Boudica and Battles of the Warrior Queen in Britain. And it came with some counters and some maps and used some of the existing Conquest of Gaul counters. Here's a little bit of update. So if you're going to use this set to play Battles of the Warrior Queen, which I own and is going to go in this box, just some changes you need to make. Looks like the counters come from this box. It looks like they have enough counters for the Numidians and the Balearics. And ignore the errata for Conquest of Gaul. Now that they've fixed a lot of the errata stuff for this, it looks like that's pretty nice. Little update for simple GBOH, which I've never played. I prefer the full version because simple doesn't really make it that much more simple from what I understand. Here's the rule book, big thick rule book. There's a lot of detail in here, more so than probably other great Battles of History games, like Cataphract, for example, where the legionary tactics come into play, how legions fight, what legions, like what special things they have. Special units, right? We've got artillery units in here, skirmishers and light infantry. You can extend your line. Antisigonani, I don't even know what that is. Testudo, right? Formation, shield wall, barbarian ferocity, the Aquila. So there's just a lot of special rules around Roman legions in this and SPQR that are not found in other GBOH titles, because that was a important part of the Roman military doctrine. We've got the naval rules. So these are for the naval scenarios that I think come with the British expansion. This one is a smaller rule book. It talks about the ships and their stuff. I'm not sure how this differentiates, how this is different from War Galley. From what I understand, one of these was built upon the other. But this is only 11 pages, but that's specifically for the naval scenarios. All right, then we got a huge pile of maps in here, as you would expect. Just a massive pile. I'm not going to open them all, but there's some they're all double-sided. You've got some half maps. This one in particular, it looks to be, this is Pharsalus. Most of these are going to be clear terrain, right? You're talking about a tactical scale where ancient armies would not fight on broken ground too much. So, you know, that's a half map size. This looks like a full map size. This is Bibracte, Gaul. You know, obviously the terrain here, a little more broken, a little more elevation changes. Here's like what looks to be like a circling of the wagons. Here's a fortress, or a Roman, looks like a Roman fort, yeah, a castrum, which is pretty cool. I think I played this scenario, actually. I think this is also from Conquest of Gaul. Which one is this? This is the Rhine, Caesar versus Ariovistus from 58 BC. So it looks like there's a Roman castra, and then on the other side, you've got some rivers. I will be on the Rhine next week, so that's cool. Here's another one. This one has like this one, as you can see, very a lot of elevation changes on this one. This one has another Roman castrum here, Gergovia. This one's Gergovia. This one's a full-size map. I don't know what on this side. Let's see. It doesn't list on this side. But as you can see, it's pretty. I mean, if you've played GBOH, you kind of know what you're in for here. The maps aren't like super pretty, but they're very functional. Munda in Spain, Castra, Pompeii's Castra there. Looks like a lot of fun. I'm glad that they have put this all into one package. It's a great system if you have not played it. Here is Thapsus, Africa 46. This looks like it might have a pretty big naval component to it. This is, here's an opening of it. There's another Roman castrum, and here's the African, and there's Caesar's fort. So it looks like a battle on the coast. That will be cool. Man, how am I going to get this played? That's what's stressing me out right now. And here's the Bay of Biscay. This is definitely, I think, a naval, or maybe it's a land. It was against the barbarians. Yeah, this is just flat. A lot of these maps just flat, one color. But there you go. Those are the maps. Let's take a look at the player aids real quick. Typical. It's nice to have both of these games on one set of player aids, which is cool. So there's 2 of each of these. This is going to talk about the movement cost and terrain. And then on the inside, you've got the most important charts you're going to be looking at. Clash of Swords. Chart. This is where different classes of units, when they attack each other, determines where you start on the combat results table. You've also got the shock superiority, so you can get, you know, extreme advantage if you are one type of unit versus another. and then you roll and you'll take hits. And it's fairly simple once you do it. It's just a lot of the same die rolling over and over if you have a big scenario down the line. You got to really like tactical games. I'm not the biggest tactical fan, but I do like Ancients, and so that's why I'm in for it. Here's this player is really nice. It just tells you about how you get automatic cohesion hits to your units, when you check cohesion and tactical quality, command summary. So again, this is another area where the game system is very intricate, where different armies, so for example, the Romans, and they have different types of leaders, who they can command, how they can command them, how far you have to be within them, when you can use their orders, how you use their orders. It's very, very in-depth and involved. And so I'd recommend, if you're playing this system, you probably want to get the hang of it with one of the simpler entries, because once you get into the Roman period, there's a lot of rules around command, different rules around barbarian tribal command structures, much simpler from what I remember in Conquest of Gaul. Pontic command structure here, again, looks like even simpler there. You've got a nice little player aid reference on line commands and legion commands. Again, important when you issue an order, how you issue those orders into what units and who's eligible to take those orders. Very important. Some reminders there. And on the back, we've got stacking. So different units are allowed to stack differently. Again, a lot going on here. If you've not played GBOH, it's easily learnable once you get kind of the nuances, but each game, each setting has its own sort of like special small things that are sometimes hard to remember. More reminders, tables, die roll of doom, always fun when you try and do continuation and you flub that, bad things can happen. And then the sequence of play, which is really nice. We got some route points reminders. This is double-sided. On the back, you've got some simple GBOH terrain effects. That's cool. So yeah, so this is where you're going to look at your game turn, and then the game is all built on route points. So as soon as an army accumulates a certain number of route points, they flee the field and you lose. And here's a naval charts and tables card. So yeah, grappling, disengaging, fatigue, wind, boarding, all the stuff you need for the naval scenarios. A giant bag of bags, yo dog, and some dice. So we've got 2d6 and a d10. Presumably the d10 is for tracking the turns, maybe. Or maybe the D10 is for I think the D10 is actually for the game. The D6s, I'm not sure what they're for. It's been a while since I played GBOH. I have some videos on the channel, though, of Cataphract, if you want to go back and check those out. So that is the Great Battles of Julius Caesar Deluxe. Amazing package. If you like ancient Rome and you want to fight the battles at the sort of very tactical level, this is a great game that will keep you busy for many hours, if not days, weeks, and months. And so, yeah, let's crack open the Musket and Pike dual pack real quick. All right, it's finally here, Musket and Pike dual pack. I've been waiting for this one for a long time. Love the art on the cover. What a fantastic image chosen. It's 2 games, again, in a deluxe 3-inch box. Comes with, it's 11 battles from the 30 Years' War and the First English Civil War. Very cool. This actually is going to join my other collection of Musket and Pike games that I own. I did pick up a copy of Under the Lily Banners. This is another 30 Years' War battle game. This one is printed in 2005, so pretty old. You can see the old style small GMT box. I got this used at a convention from someone. I picked up Saints in Armor at the GMT warehouse. This one was printed in 2012, not that long ago. Well, 10 years now, I guess. This is volume 6, whereas Under the Lily Banners was volume 3. So I have not even opened this yet, as you can see. I have actually not played Musket and Pike, I know. And I also got Nothing Game But Glory, which was volume 5, and this is about the Scanian War in the 1670s. Again, same system. And all of those I have picked up over the years. I think I got Nothing Game But Glory also at a convention used from someone. And so I've got a ton of Musket and Pike sitting here, and of course now I'm going to be adding more to it. I believe there have been 7 volumes of Musket and Pike. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. But now that this Accursed Civil War in Sweden fights on, and I have these over here, Lily Banners, Saints in Armor, and Nothing Game But Glory, I believe the only 2 I'm missing are Gustav Adolf the Great, and I can't remember what the 7th one is, but close to completing the collection. And I hope this sells well, because I hope they do reprint in sort of the deluxe package format, because I think it's working really well for them. If you have checked out the GMT update from this month, they're going to be doing a second tri-pack for the Battles of the American Revolution. Just a great value, fantastic value, packaging multiple old games that have been out of print forever, including these 2, into a deluxe thing. So Musket and Pike dual pack, very excited to play this. This is Tactical 30 Years' War, Tactical 17th Century. Not a lot of games in this space, and Ben Hull seems to be the only one doing games. Obviously, Won by the Sword was more of an operational game. It had its issues, but I like the concept. I wish that system got sort of refined and had taken off. But here we go. Let's take a look. So this Accursed Civil War playbook for this Accursed Civil War scenarios. This, again, tactical, very detailed in terms of like looking at the 30 Years' War and the way that Musket and Pike blocks fought each other in this period. But similar to Great Battles of History visually, as you can see. We'll talk about the counters too. I know there's some controversy there. I'm actually very excited to dive into this. From what I understand, this is all... So one of the things I like about Great Battles of History is that you don't really have full control over your units sometimes. Sometimes when they take a morale test, they might break and flee, and you don't have any control over that. And so it gives each individual unit kind of its own personality. From what I understand, Musket and Pike does that as well, and it does it with orders. And so when we look at the player aids, I'll show you kind of what I'm talking about. Here's Sweden Fights On, and these battles in there. This is the playbook, again, very similar format with the setup diagrams. I really like the art interspersed throughout. This is great, some of the 17th century artwork of some of these battles. That looks like a siege. That's pretty cool. All right, then we've got the Musket and Pike series rules. This is version 7.0. I'm not sure what's in those other boxes, but now that we have the most up-to-date version of the rules here, this will apply backwards to all of the other games. There's a lot of illustrated examples in here, which is pretty nice. Really excited to try and see what I can learn. A period I don't really know a lot about, the 30 Years' War. I know more about the English Civil War than I do 30 Years' War, but obviously a very pivotal moment in European history, and what it did kind of devastated the continent almost to the degree of like a World War I while it lasted. Again, more artwork in here. So it's a 28-page rule book, so maybe less rules, pages. I don't know how complicated it is to GBOH. Probably comparable. Looks like we've got some errata here for some of those games I was showing you. So you can see there's some playbook errata for Saints and Armor. This looks like it's probably previously released and now included here for posterity, which is really nice. Errata for Nothing Gained But Glory. Some counter errata, I'm not sure. And it tells you where those errata counters were. So Saints and Armor had the corrected counters for Nothing Gained But Glory. Errata for Under the Lily Banners. New counters. Interesting. I'm going to have to look at the counter sheets and see. Here's a little, that's pretty cool. Here's a little overhead shot of a camp. That's pretty nice. Errata for Gustav Adolf the Great, the only one I don't own, I believe. Yeah, and it's okay. So there's 6 volumes of Musket and Pike. The only one I don't own now at this point is Gustav Adolf the Great. So there's enough here for 2 more dual packs. And here's the sequence of play on the back of the rules. Combat praise reminder, combat, close combat. So it looks like you're going to have fire in close combat. Makes sense. Then we've got, this looks to be a giant stack of player aids. Let's start with these. So I really like the look of this. I like sort of the textured background, the sort of textile cloth background to this. These are scenario turn record tracks, which is nice, very nice. I love the graphic design on this. Special rules, it tells you where in the rule book to find those rules for this particular scenario. That's a really nice touch. Victory conditions, some other special rules. Are these double-sided? They are. So yeah, so scenario 1 and 3, scenario 2, and we've got Edge Hill, and on the back of that is going to be First Newbury, Cheriton. So it looks like there's one of these for each of the battle. Marston Moor, that one's a famous one, 5 turns. These are really nicely done. I love the portraits in the corner of the individuals. Nasby, Second Breitenfeld. These are very cool. Props to GMT, their production, their artwork is off the charts right now. Fantastic. All right, player aids. I've never played Musket and Pike, so I'm not sure exactly what I'm looking at. Looks like 2 of the same here. We've got orders restrictions and orders change. So this is what I was talking about, where you give units orders, and then if you want them to do something else, they go off and do those orders. If you want them to do something else, there's a die roll that's made with some modifiers, and it's possible that the orders that you send them don't get to them, and they continue to do the thing you don't want them to do. And from what I hear from people who've played it, that it's very enjoyable and very fun and somewhat hilarious. Continuation, leader casualties. What do we got inside here? Terrain effects, nicely colored. Interception table, formation effects on movement. So interesting, depending on what formation you're in, or if you're broken or shaken, how far you move. Here are the fire tables: heavy infantry, musketry, light infantry, and cavalry fire. So heavy and light fire. Casualty thresholds of units. Interesting. Artillery range, artillery fire. And then on the back, we got close combat. So this would be probably the hand-to-hand, spear-to-spear, sword-to-sword, cavalry pursuit. Excited to dive into this. Here's another player aid card. There's only one of the... Oh, actually, here's another Nordlingen. I must have, and Whitsock. I must have dropped that. There's another player aid card here, which there's only one. Interception table. Looks like more of the same. Okay, so yeah, so here are the orders. Charge, make ready, receive charge, or rally. Talks about some of the rules there, determining victory. So those are some of the player aids. All right, then we got the big stack of cardboard. Here we can see this accursed civil war, some of the rules. There's the king, King Charles himself, unhappy King Charles. And then some of the units. So let's talk about the counters real quick. So I really like the look of these. I love the little art style. Ben and the artist decided that they were going to go with a more period art style that shows the pike blocks marching in formation, almost from like an isometric perspective. I think that's really cool. Here's some musketeers. It's very unique. It looks much different than other games, right? We're so accustomed to having like the silhouette of one soldier, but you know, that counter represents more guys. And so I like the fact that we're getting like a huge, you know, like we're getting this like, oh, wow, this, you know, Prince Maurice, this unit is actually like, you know, a phalanx, so to speak, of pikemen and riflemen, or musketmen, excuse me. I just think that's so cool. And there was a lot of controversy about this because these don't match the old counters in the series, which had a more traditional GMT look. But I think this is a great move. I think it's fantastic to see sort of what these counters represent in terms of numbers of men and types of formations that they were in. It gives it a very distinct look, right? I don't want all my games to look the same. I like that they decided to go with like a different art style on this. It's very cool. These must be the English from this accursed civil war. Sorry, excuse me, they're all English. The parliamentarians, and these would be the royalists, it looks like. And then starting down here, we have some Sweden fights on units. And that goes through to here. We've got the double-sized formations, which is really cool. Again, I love the artwork. It looks like it was chopped out of a 30 Years' War like painting or something from the period. I love it. I think, you know, if Ben or anyone else at GMT is watching this, fantastic. I think it was the right decision. You done good. People who were like, I'm canceling my pre-order over the counter art. It's like, were you actually going to buy it anyway? If that is your deciding factor. So you can see some of the status markers here. This is this accursed civil war as well. Yeah. Next one, we've got some Sweden fights on units. These, oh, look at that. Looks like some Spanish. Yeah, some Spanish units down here, perhaps in yellow. Good looking package. Again, the smooth matte finish. Here we've got some more Sweden fights on. Double size units. Can't wait to get this to the table. I'm very excited to play this. And then, of course, we've got what look to be some sort of casualty markers and status markers. First pistol used. I'm guessing second pistol used. No pistols, yeah. Once you use your pistol, you're not reloading it in this era. So those are the counters. Now I want to show you the thing that is the coolest, in my opinion, the maps. And that is because these maps may be the nicest paper maps that GMT has ever created. I don't know who's responsible for this decision, but the texture of these maps, and I don't know if it's going to come through. You can kind of see it here. It's done on like this linen, almost like a canvas feeling paper. It's got a texture to it. It's got the same texture to it as the turn record track background. Whatever this texture is supposed to be is on the map, and it is phenomenal. It feels amazing. For a paper map, these are really, really, really nice in terms of like their production quality. GMT knocking it out of the park again. I don't know who decided that they were going to do this, but it's so cool. So bougie for a war game. Here is First Newberry. I'll open this one up just to kind of show you some of the map art. These are back printed. They feel really nice. They unfold really nicely, I say as I don't unfold it nicely. I promise you they unfold nicely. Okay, here's Marston Moor. So it looks like I don't know who did the map art here, but it looks like Mark Simonich. It's got his fingerprints all over it. This one here looks like a sort of a trench line. This one on this side. Oh, this one's, okay, so this is a double. So this is two scenarios, two half maps. So we've got First Newberry here. You can see the roads and some of the terrain changes in the grasslands. And then we've got Edge Hill here with some rivers, some elevation changes. King's Lais Barn. But again, I can't say enough about the texture on these maps. I'm trying to get you to be able to see it, but it's like so It feels so nice. It feels like it came from the 30 Years War period. Like these are actual battlefield maps they would use in their tents. And there are a shit ton of them, frankly. That one's here. Again, the color palette here, mostly green. We're talking about fighting on the continent and in the English countryside, rolling grasslands. Here's Cheriton. Second Newberry. Just like the production quality here is insane. So cool. Nordlingen. That was a famous battle. Even I know about Nordlingen, even though I don't know about. And then, oh, look at this. They printed art on the map. Looks like the army camp at Nordlingen. Yeah, that's a nice touch. Whoever did the art on this game, give them a raise. It is superb. Superb. Second Brettenfeld. Here's an example of a town. You know, typical Mark Simonich stuff, it appears. And then again, bag of bags. 2d10, red and blue. And that's the Musket and Pike dual pack. It's one that I am extremely excited about receiving and owning. And if you've ordered these, yours should be showing up soon. Here's Oliver Cromwell. Thanks for checking this out. I am going to be taking a hiatus on the channel because I'm going on vacation. And when I come back, we will be doing the entire grand campaign from the Library of Napoleonic Battles, Battle of Leipzig, or Napoleon at Leipzig, I guess is the title of the game. So I hope you'll join me for that. Thank you.